From the Hindu Kush to the Rockies, a journey from Kabul to Colorado in community-led transformation, a memoir of resilience, advocacy, and transformation by Homayun Milad. Episode 2, but displacement does not end with arrival. It lingers, clings to your skin, burrows into your bones. It follows you into the next step, the next verification, the next set of registration forms, biometric screenings, COVID-19 testing, a process that reduces your existence to paperwork. Then came the tents, temporary shelters built on uncertainty. Are we really living here? The children asked, looking at the unfamiliar rows of canvas walls. Yes, until we move forward. Sleep arrived after 72 hours of trauma, but peace remained elusive. Tent to tent, Washington to New Mexico. 6 days later, we were moved again, this time to Dulles Airport in Washington, on a commercial flight, with real seats, with space to breathe. A privilege, but relief was fleeting. Another biometric check, another verification process, another step forward. Toward where exactly? No one knew. Then, another flight, another tent. New Mexico, where 80 families shared a single space, plastic sheets barely holding together fragments of privacy. But even within displacement, communities find ways to rebuild, from survival to community. The formation of peace and hopes. Days passed. The sun seared our skin. Exhaustion clung to us like dust. But people banded together. Strength formed in whispers, in shared meals, in moments of quiet resilience. A military officer built a system of representation, naming the camp Peace and Hopes. Through shared experience, leaders emerged, survivors becoming organizers, displaced individuals becoming community builders. Despite everything, we were more than refugees. We were more than loss. We were still here. Arrival in Denver, Colorado. A new beginning. After 10 long hours on the road, the city emerged on the horizon, a skyline rising against the storm-gray sky, signaling not just arrival, but the fragile promise of possibility. The journey had stretched across borders, deserts, military bases, and the weight of endless waiting. Now, after weeks of uncertainty, a place that had once been only a name on paper stood before us, waiting to become something real. Rain fell softly over the streets, washing away the dust of transit, cooling the heavy air thick with exhaustion and anticipation. It was a rain unlike the last storm, the one that had soaked tents at Holloman Air Force Base, turning sand into mud beneath weary feet. That rain had been another hardship. This rain felt different. It wasn't just water, it was renewal. In the back seat, the children laughed, a sound so light, so free, it felt almost surreal. Their voices rang through the car like music, a contrast to the silence that had weighed on them in transit, in waiting lines, in places that never felt like home. It was the first time in weeks that laughter sounded unburdened. The first time in weeks that joy wasn't a distant memory. The streets of the city bustled, humming with life. And for the first time in what felt like forever, there was no urgency, no fear, no soldiers in the streets, no patrols to avoid. Here, the pace of life carried forward, unshaken by war, untouched by the fear that had chased so many from their homeland. But arrival was not the end of the journey. It was the beginning of another. Denver was not Kabul. It was a world apart. The buildings unfamiliar, the air carrying a silence so different from the one we had known. Here, people moved without the weight of loss pressing against their every breath. Here, they did not know what it meant to leave everything behind. But within the unfamiliar, there was space. Space to rebuild, space to reclaim agency, space to define a future not dictated by survival alone. Displacement does not end when refugees step onto new soil. It lingers. It lives in the unanswered questions, in the longing for what was left behind, in the quiet ache of homesickness that will never fully fade. But that night, for the first time in weeks, there was a roof overhead that was not canvas, a bed that was not the hard ground, and a feeling, however fragile, that tomorrow would offer more than just survival. This was not the end. This was the beginning of rebuilding. We'll continue this story in the next episode, so stay tuned.